You mean my Knox is bisexual?
I got a question for you. Since you 13 years old, for me, you a part of like the newer generation. You jacking it?
I bet.
What is your current goal? Your goal period in life?
I ain't got no goals. I was born to stay in the hood.
You was born to stay in the hood?
Yup. You see how niggas was born with a silver spoon? I was born with a plastic fork.
This is beyond me.
You was born with a plastic fork?
Yup, you heard me, nigga.
Where do they get these kids from, bro? Are you gonna stay in the hood for the rest of your life?
I might.
How you gonna make money and shit?
The government gonna take care of me. All I gotta do is have 8 kids and I'm Gucci. Do you know how much food stamps I could get with 8 kids?
So you jacking the welfare?
Yes. The hood is the land of opportunity. You know that, right? We in Dubai right now if you really think about it. I can get a chopped cheese, Chinese food, and Don Julio on the same block. We in Dubai right now.
Yo, now. What does a nigga have to go through to want to end up being a YN and stay in the hood forever? Like, why would you damn yourself to that kind of lifestyle? This kid doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's funny, but it's also not funny. On one hand, it's funny because it's like, kid, like your life has just started. You literally woke up just yesterday. Why do you think that this is where you will begin and end, died in the hood? But unfortunately, this is actually the reality of, well, a lot of young people that grew up in those neighborhoods. Now, I'm one of those content creators that will call out the black community on their own things. I call out everyone on their own BS, you feel what I'm saying? But we also got to recognize when stuff is happening. And today we're going to talk about the black boy experience. Now, it's no surprise that most black boys that come from low-income backgrounds are usually gang affiliated or involved or in the proximity of gangs. So with that in mind, it's only fair to properly examine why this happens, rather just put it to a stereotype and blame people for things that they cannot really control. A lot of people that have a very narrow perspective would see this and be like, well, just step out of the gang business. Just leave that place, X, Y, and Z. Nigga, it's not that easy. Look, I understand that, you know, a lot of people can decide their circumstances and things of that nature. But when it comes to children, they're highly impressionable. And you have to understand, when children are seeing things around them and they have no guidance and they have no kind of understanding of what's right or wrong, naturally, they're going to pick the option that makes the most sense to them, because they're not being told what's the right option and why it's the right option. You see, for a lot of kids in his position, this young man right here, a lot of them are growing up without a father. And if they do have a parent in the household, they're not really doing their job properly. So what ends up happening is that, you know, they're looking out for guidance, walking around. The parents aren't paying too much attention on to the kid. And then the kid ends up winding up with the wrong crowd, and the wrong crowd then now grooms these little kids. And as the grooming starts, the kids think that it's just being friends with the elders, because every kid wants to be friends with the elders. Don't sit here and pretend like you don't want to be friends with the elders. We all felt good, you know, being a young kid, and then the elders look at you going like, hey, little man, hey, look, this is the guy, he's the ish, he's the X, Y, and Z, you feel me? Now, a lot of us have had a normal experience with that. The older guys just liked us, they dapped us up, bragged about us to their friends, and we went on our merry way. Sometimes they'd even give us candy, things of that nature. Now, let's look at that in the hood version. You see, in the hood version, what ends up happening is that all happens, and then it then turns into, oh, do this quick favor for me. They do that quick favor, and they're like, oh, wow, look, you really did this. You the man, you the biggest man, you the toughest guy around. Here, take this. Here, I'll give you that. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. And then they start building rapport with these kids. In the kids' heads, they have an idol that they're looking up to because they're rewarding them, they're complimenting them, and even their friends think they're cool. And kids just want to fit in. Kids want to feel cool, you feel me? And they want to feel like they're special in a way. When they're not getting that attention from home, being seen as special and things of that nature, naturally they're going to seek outside for that, you know, because they're not being encouraged at home. So they end up going up to these gangs where they are being encouraged, they are being hyped up, they're being told that they're great and things of that nature. And then what ends up happening, it's very sad. Because as they are being involved in this kind of thing where they're being gassed up and, you know, giving gifts and things of that nature, in their head, they're thinking, wow, these guys are so cool. They really care about me. They really love me and things of that nature. But in their head, they're like, there's another runner boy. There's another person that we're going to get to do things for us. He's going to be our fall guy. He's going to be this and that. We're going to build him up so that he has loyalties to us. It's a more sinister act. And what ends up happening is that you see a lot of these people, these young black boys in jail. You know, and then people are like, oh, why are they in jail? Why can't they just see common sense, things of that nature? Because that's all they've known. You see, when you're told by an older person that you're doing the right thing and you're inspired by that older person, you trust that older person, naturally you would never think that what they're saying to you is wrong because you're a kid. You lack understanding. you lack wisdom, you lack guidance. And the only guidance that you're receiving is from this guy who seems to be cool, who seems to be popular, and now he's recognized you, and now he's gearing you up to be the next version of him. When really they're using you. And then that's how they end up being dope slingers. That's how they end up being gangbangers. You know, they start doing a lot of things where it's like, oh, I need to do a favor for me. I need you to off this guy right here. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it for him because he's looked out for me. He cares for me so much and I want to make him happy. You see, a lot of people think that grooming or being manipulated can never happen to them, but it can always be you. Because you would never suspect that someone that you trust and someone that you love so much and someone that you look up to so much would ever think of manipulating you. You feel me? Because you have trust in them. You see, everyone likes to talk like, oh, I can never be manipulated. But it can always be you because it's people that you care about. It's never going to happen from someone you don't know. It happens from someone that you've built a good relationship with and you've went life with, going through with them. You feel what I'm saying? So when you have these situations, you know, on one hand, you could say this. Yes, the parents should have done a good job. But a lot of these parents are overworked. They don't think that they have to pay that much attention to their children. So there's also blame on that side. But there also is understanding because some of these parents have to pick up very rough hours to provide. Some of these parents even have their own problems. Sometimes they're addicted to drugs. Sometimes they're depressed. You know, a lot of parents, you'd be surprised, they're depressed. We can't just be we can't say that, yes, parents should be more responsible. But we have to understand a lot of parents are depressed. When you wake up in the same four walls and you live in poor conditions and you're in financial struggle and you're constantly trying to make ends meet, you don't have time for your kid. And that's where your kid finds the time to be involved in these things. And then, you know, they're reaping the rewards of it. You're wondering what's going on and things of that nature, which is sad to see because a lot of parents that, you know, a lot of these gangbangers, you find and see that they're good people. The parents are good, upstanding citizens that work a 9 to 5 and they're X, Y, and Z. But because they're working so hard, because they're tired, because they're going through their own stresses, that's what's happening. And then the cycle continues because people are overworked and they can't watch their children, and children are being groomed by people who know that they have power and influence over these children. By the end of the day, that's how the system goes. So, yes, when I look at this situation, I kind of chuckle, but at the same time, I'm sad because, you know, being a black man, I've been around that kind of lifestyle. And whilst I've never been groomed, I've seen people be groomed. And I've been in positions where, you know, I've tried to convince people that this isn't what they're saying it is, but they don't listen. And then they end up, you know, getting really hurt or in jail or whatever it is. It's a sad experience overall. And then you hear the parents, and the parent is like constantly asking me, make sure my son's walking in the right path. And it's like, I'm trying to make sure the son's walking in the right path. But at the end of the day, I can't always watch them 24/7. And then they're going to be friends with some other bad guys and all things of that nature. And it's all messed up overall. I think one thing we have to understand from these experiences and these situations that we see on social media is that, you know, we should be looking for solutions. I do understand it's okay to get a joke. I don't want to seem like I'm so serious all the time, but these are serious bad things that are going on. These are really bad situations that are going on. I feel like young black boys in these situations need good black role models. One person I want to shout out, my friend Josh. I don't know if he's going to watch this video, but he's one of those guys, you know, he's very involved in the youth in New York, and, you know, wherever he can, he's always involved because that kind of development needs to be there. That kind of guidance needs to be there, and they need a positive role model. In a world where there's so many negative role models and kids are confused and they're having their own issues and no one's paying attention to them and no one understands them, you know, because the parents always think that the kids don't have issues, but kids do have the issues, you know. Being involved with trying to, you know, uplift kids and things of that nature, you'd be surprised how much they think and how much they feel. You feel me? And it's like, you see my friend Josh doing that, and I'm happy that he's doing that, and I'm trying to do that as well. But there's some people that just think that it doesn't matter, and it really does matter. So if you are a black person watching this, a black male, you know, black kids need male role models. You know, I'm trying in my church. I'm away right now, but I've always been involved in my church. Josh is involved in the school and the boxing gym. I'm involved with out the streets as well. You know, but like there's more that needs to be done in every part of the world. You may not think it's your responsibility, but it is your responsibility. If you are a black man who has made good for yourself and you're doing well for yourself, please, I encourage you to inspire the young minds that are around you. The young black boys and girls are around you because they need somebody. They need someone to look up to, someone that's not going to bring them down to bad places. You know, we can't just assume that just someone else is going to do it. The reality is we all think that someone else is going to do it. At the end of the day, nobody's doing it. But there is somebody who's doing it in a negative way. So be that person who's at least trying to contribute in some kind of way. It's raising self-awareness and providing more context to the situation, because it's more than just, oh, he's a gangbanger and he's silly. That's a very ignorant way of seeing it, you know, but I understand why people see it that way. But please, if you're a black man watching this, please be involved in the young youth that are black around you. But what do you guys think? What are your experiences? Have you ever been involved in this lifestyle? Do you know somebody? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. So with that being said, my people, God bless, take care, and I'll see you guys next video.